the nation. This program is suitable for general viewing.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope you're having a wonderful morning. A very good morning to you and welcome to Horizon TV. My name is Zamzam Ahmed and this is the Muslim Insight, a show that brings to you weekly news update as well as impactful conversation. Today we have so much lined up for you, but before that, let's have the headlines.
The politicians have been the ones who have been sowing these seeds of discord, making us into different tribes and different religions for their own selfish interest. I think they have now been humbled to where they are.
Respect the office. NAMLEF condemns DP Gachagua for castigating NIS Director General Haji.
We should not take certain things for granted. Many countries have lost their peace because of things like what we are seeing in today.
Leading with integrity. Political leaders in the country urged to lead with integrity and put the people first. Israel-Gaza war. Dr. Mohammed Abu Salmiya among 50 Palestinians freed from Israeli prisons. Thank you so much for staying here with us at Horizon TV. My sign language interpreter is Mariam Jamaluddin. Now on to our top story is that Muslim leaders in the country, drawn from Jamia Mosque Nairobi, National Muslim Leaders Forum, Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims, the Council of Imams and Preachers of Kenya and the Students' Organization have called on President William Ruto to listen to the calls by Gen Zs who are seeking to address the waste, abuse and plunder of national resources by the government. For 3 weeks now, the nation has witnessed countrywide protests by Gen Zs to redeem the governance of the country.
Speaking during the press briefing in Nairobi, the Muslim leaders have called on President William Ruto to move with speed and take action on the raft of issues the Gen Zs have raised over the past 3 weeks.
New challenges call for new and innovative ways to deal with contemporary challenges. Old ways and approaches which are not in tune with the current circumstances cannot take us far in this discourse. Only you can provide leadership and a way out of this quagmire. You need to view this uprising as an opportunity to redeem the malines and the melodies we face as a nation.
The leaders expressed solidarity with the younger generation, acknowledging their determination to bring about meaningful reforms.
There is a fact that the youth of Kenya and their contestation represent the spirit and pulse of the nation. Our GNCs have been largely peaceful and devoid of the dynamics that divide our society, including class, tribe, political affiliation, religion, and race. They are desirous of ridding this nation of political corruption, opulence, state capture of institutions, and the rampant abuse of systems and institutions, especially by the political class and state functionaries.
Addressing the media, Supreme Council of Kenya Muslim Chairman Sheikh Hassan Olenado reminded the president that his government has lost touch with the majority of Kenyans by neglecting and abandoning the common mwananchi.
They are sending a clear message to the president and his government that they are out of touch with a majority of the voters, especially the youth, and the more tragically, they are reminding the president that he has deviated from the his hustler narrative, which enabled him to win an election. That he has negated and abandoned all his promises for the common man and woman. that the essence of a public participation on public policy has been negated away from the letter and the spirit of our nation.
The Gen Z protests have gained traction in recent weeks, drawing attraction to issues such as unemployment, corruption, opulence, state capture of institutions, among others, with protests aiming to influence policy decision and have more responsive government.
Specifically, we urge you to take the following actions. A, undertake an overreaching reorganization of your government by, among other things, trim down the size of your cabinet to 14. Rid your cabinet and government in general of those functionaries named in corruption, waste, fraud, and abuse of public resources. Immediately reconstitute IEBC. Undertake and facilitate the audit of our public debt, enabling public participation in an inclusive, transparent, and accountable manner. Provide leadership for the prosecution of corrupt individuals at all levels of government. Kenyans need to see heads rolling. Remove all unconstitutional offices.
The leaders lamented on unscrupulous individuals, including hired goons that infiltrated the peaceful protest, causing national distress.
The National Muslim Leaders Forum, NAMLEF, has voiced strong condemnation of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, accusing him of fostering division within the country. On Friday, NAMLEF chairperson Abdullahi Abdi, accompanied by other officials, expressed outrage at Gachagua's recent remarks targeting National Intelligence Services NIS Director General Noordin Haji. Gachagua has called for Haji's resignation, criticizing his management and accusing him of diminishing the agency's effectiveness. The Muslim leaders, however, argued that Gachagua's comments are divisive and threaten the nation's unity.
NAMLEF pointed out that although Gachagua holds a national office, he has repeatedly identified himself solely as a leader of the Mount Kenya region, contradicting the inclusive leadership expected from his position.
As was witnessed a few days ago, the president made some very horrific statement. This man is the second most powerful person in this country. He's the principal assistant to the president of this country. He is the person who takes over, God forbid, if the president goes for any reason, he takes over the leadership of this country. The symbol of unity, which is vested in the presidency, also comes to him.
The leaders emphasized that the DP should have used appropriate channels, such as communicating directly with President William Ruto to express his concerns about the National Intelligence Service.
Intelligence is secrecy. Information that is gathered is passed over to the leaders of this country in secret. But when you discuss the office of the head of the intelligence publicly and you ask him to resign, we ask the question, is that what the constitution of this country says? And if the deputy president does not follow the constitution, does he have the legitimacy to remain in the office?
The forum urged the deputy president to reflect on his behavior and align his actions with the responsibilities of his office.
Protocol demands that when the president speaks, nobody speaks after him in a sitting forum. He decides to be in Mombasa and he addresses the nation. He does not only address the nation, he contradicts what the president has said. The president says there is no any extrajudicial killing that's going on. He confirms 1 hour later that it's going on. I am not checking the legitimacy of that statement, whether it's true or not. But are they speaking in different languages? And if this is the way that this country is being run, that there is no unity of purpose, that there is no consultation, that between the deputy and the president they are contradicting one another in the country, what type of government are we having on land? Doesn't that also question the legitimacy of the government itself?
Furthermore, NAMLEF has accused not only the deputy president but the whole government for creating ethnic divisions among Kenyans.
What has been exposed is the arrogance and the ego on which they think they can deal with Kenyans. That myth has been broken by the youth. The politicians have been the ones who have been sowing these seeds of discord, making us into different tribes and different religions for their own selfish interest. I think they have now been humbled to where they are. I think the time has come for the deputy president to humble himself, also to know that whatever seeds or that is trying to sow now of disunity, it is definitely going not to work.
NAMLEF Chairman Abdullahi Abdi applauded the youth for standing up for their rights, adding that they have proven to be beyond the ethnic, religious and creed lines.
All along, Kenya has been fighting for its rights, but the youth have taken the responsibility much more seriously. They have also proven, beyond what we do, the older generation, that they are beyond the ethnic lines. They are beyond the religious lines. They are beyond the creed lines. They had a target, they had a prize. A prize is democracy. The prize is the right of the people of Kenya. It is social justice. It is protection of the wealth of the people of this country. So they delivered on that.
Speaking in Mombasa on Wednesday, Gachagua lamented that since Haji succeeded Major General retired Philip Wachira Kameru in June 2023, the NIS has become dysfunctional, particularly in assessing public sentiment regarding the now withdrawn Finance Bill 2024. Shadia Ramadan for Muslim Insights.
Still on matters of leadership is that political leaders in the country have been urged to emulate King Solomon's exemplary leadership style in the execution of their responsibilities and put the interest of Kenyans first. Addressing Muslim faithful during Friday prayers at Jamia Mosque, Nairobi, prominent Islamic scholar Sheikh Ibrahim Lithome pointed out that good leaders should be merciful to those they lead. The calls come even as the country continues to witness countrywide protests organized by Gen Zs calling for reforms in government institutions. Sheikh Lithome called on leaders to recognize that power is a sacred trust and they will be held accountable for their actions. He reminded them that Kenya is guided by the Constitution that is supposed to help Kenyans have a better life.
We should not take certain things for granted. Many countries have lost their peace because of things like what we are seeing in today. So we want to call for people to be peaceful. We know it is a constitutional right. Whatever was happening, people are exercising their constitutional rights. Of course, we know that lives have been lost. There has been damage to property. But the message of Islam is that Ad-dararu yuzal. When there is something bad, then Islam teaches us that we should remove it. This is qaida usuliyah, qaida min al-qawaid al-usuliyah. وَلَكِنَّهُ لَا يُزَالُ بِارْتِكَابِ ضَرَرًا أَكْبَرٍ. But when you are removing something bad, make sure that you don't create a bigger evil. So that is the message as we exercise our constitutional rights.
He called for transparency on how the taxes collected are being utilized and measures put in place to tackle corruption, which he said had led to non-delivery of essential services.
A person who is ill, you want to buy a new suit, a new pair of shoes for this person who is sick. But the person is sick. Maybe by the time you bring him that new pair of shoes, he'll be dead. Naturally and logically, you begin by treating that person, deal with the problem, then you'll bring what is good later. So, if the finance bill was meant, according to the authors, to bring good to Kenyans, but creating chaos or causing Kenyans to suffer is an evil, we should be given priority. We should deal with that.
Clarifying the decision by Jamia Mosque Nairobi to open its doors and allow entry to protesters seeking refuge and medical emergency to those injured during the ongoing protest, Sheikh Lithome said the move was done on humanitarian grounds.
What happened here was not planned for. It happened and they were just extending humanitarian services to people who needed it. And I believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was pleased with it.
Kenyans are concerned at the way politicians and other leaders are using the opportunities in leadership for their own benefits instead of addressing challenges facing the common mwananchi. He urged the youth and Muslims at large to desist from all acts of violence, which he said had no place in the teachings of Islam, and noted that the acts of violence against innocents violates the fundamental tenets of the Islamic faith. Moving on, in the wake of continued rising tensions and protests led by Generation Z across the country, Muslim leaders from the North Rift region have made a united call for calm and dialogue. The protests, which have been gaining momentum, are driven by a variety of socio-economic grievances, including high unemployment rates, economic inequality, and political exclusion.
The leaders, led by Sheikh Abubakar Bini, the chairman of the Council of Imams and Preachers of Kenya, Uasin Gishu County, emphasized the importance of dialogue and understanding, seeking to resolve tensions between the peaceful protesters and the government.
A message yao, tunasema alhamdulillahi imefika. Imefika pale ambapo waliokuwa wamelenga, ambapo ni kwa Mheshimiwa Rais, na akakubali kurudi nyuma na kutekeleza mataka yao mengi waliokuwa wanayataka. Ombi letu ni kwa vijana wetu. Hakuna haja tena kuendelea na maandamano kwa wakati huu, ili wampe nafasi Mheshimiwa Rais atekeleze zile ahadi ambazo aliowaahidi kuzitekeleza.
The leaders highlighted the need for constructive engagement between the youth and the government to address the underlying issues fueling the protest and find sustainable solutions.
Amani ni kitu muhimu katika nchi. Amani ina thamani kuliko kitu chochote. Na amani inapoharibika, kuirudisha ile amani gharama yake ni kubwa, na hatungelipendelea ifike hapo.
They expressed concerns over the potential for the protests to escalate into violence, which could further destabilize the country, as witnessed in other African countries including Congo, Egypt, among others.
Serikali pia ajaribu kusima taruki ambayo vijana wako nazo. Sababu kienea kila mahali sehemu yote, si bora kuonekana nchi zingine iliende kama ni maneno kidogo kidogo, baadaye ikaleta taabu kwa nchi zao. Ndio inaona sisi tunahifadhi wakimbizi kwa nchi yetu, ambayo wakimbizi si wakupenda kwao kukuwa wakimbizi.
Sheikh Bini urged the youth to call off the protest, which has been infiltrated by hired goons who continue to destroy the conducive environment for businesses and hurt the country's economy.
Sisi naomba wakijana iregeshe kidogo, uwe mtulivu akue Kenya, kwa sababu hasara ikikuja achakui mtu ya watu yote. Lakini sasa jina ambao sasa unatembea wanasema wakijana. Wakijana ni viongozi ya kesho. Uangalie Kenya ni zetu zote.
According to the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, at least over 30 people have been killed and hundreds more injured in anti-government demonstrations in the country. Salma Salim, The Muslim Insights.
Elsewhere in the coastal region is that a group of religious and community leaders in Malindi has urged the youth to heed President William Ruto's call for dialogue and to avoid participating in destructive anti-governmental demonstrations. The group, known as Sport On Voice Malindi, emphasized that dialogue is the only way to achieve a lasting solution to the issues raised by the youth, who identify as Gen Z. Led by Sport On Voice coordinator Farhan Mohammed, the leaders stated that the initially peaceful demonstrations had been compromised by criminal elements, making them destructive rather than peaceful. Address the concerns of the young people, Bishop James Njehia, a member of the Malindi Interfaith Council, expressed his support for the ongoing demonstrations but urged the youth to be cautious and avoid causing harm to their own country. According to the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, at least over 30 people have been killed and hundreds more injured in anti-government demonstrations in the country.
Tunawaomba tu, tunawasihi kwa heshima, kwa utulivu, mmoja wafanye ikiwa ni maandamano yawe ya amani bila uharibifu. Pili, wito wa rais tumeusikia. Naomba vijana wetu na wenzetu Kenya nzima, tafadhalini tujaribuni kumpatia masikio rais wetu. Tutakaa na yeye kwenye meza moja, then tutamsikia, tutajieleza, tutatoa maoni yetu, tunataka nini, hatutaki nini kwa mustakabali mzuri wa nchi yetu tukufu ya Kenya. Kuna kukubali na kutokubali. Haya yote ya kukubali na kutokubali yatakuwa kwa amani na hekima ya hali ya juu. Lakini tukisema hatutaki, tutashindwa kuwa na mustakabali mzuri na tutalia baadaye, hatujui tuende wapi, na Kenya ni yetu sote, hatuwezi kuiharibu.
Tunaposema ni maandamano ya amani, inakuwa ni ngumu kwa sababu katikati mikora inaingilia, wale watu ambao wana silaha wanaingilia. Maana tunaamini ya kwamba si vijana walichoma bunge, si vijana walichoma ofisi ya gavana, ni wale wahalifu walipoingia na wengine wakabeba hata silaha na vitu vingine. Kwa hivyo tunasema ya kwamba kama vile ameagiza dialogue, ni vizuri hata hao vijana kuona ni vizuri kuketi chini kusungumza na rais ili Kenya iwe na amani.
Last but not least, the process to register and recognize members of the Nubian community as a tribe in Kenya is ongoing. This is according to a communication from the Office of the Principal Secretary for Immigration and Citizen Services, Ambassador Julius Bitok. This official recognition will address long-standing grievances within the Nubian community and serve as a significant step towards greater inclusive within Kenya.
Since Kenya gained independence, the Nubian community has been pleading with successive governments to recognize them as one of the communities in Kenya.
The Nubian community will be the investors.
Speaking in April last year, when he hosted the Muslim leaders during the iftar dinner at State House, Nairobi, President William Ruto promised to work closely with the Nubian community leaders, recognize them as Kenyans.
Mumesema vile vile kuhusu ndugu zetu, the Nubian community in Nairobi. Mimi najua, mnaelewa ya kwamba tayari tuliopatia title deed katika serikali ambayo ilipita. Saa hizi tunafanya kazi na wao so that we can use their land for the affordable housing to benefit the Nubian community first, and even those others who are going to benefit after them.
According to the Secretary Nubian Council of Elders Ibrahim Yunis, the leadership of the community recently held a meeting with officials from the Immigration and Citizen Services and the Ministry of Interior and National Coordination to be updated on the status of the Nubian community recognition. In the meeting chaired by Secretary to the Office of the Principal Secretary for Immigration and Citizen Services, James Kianda, the leadership of Nubian community was briefed on the ongoing efforts and processes by the government to ensure that they are formally recognized as a tribe in Kenya. The Nubian community continues to face discrimination through the vetting process before being issued with national identification documents. The Nubian community has already been issued with a recognition number 50 pending the gazettement as formal recognition as a tribe in Kenya by birth.
In other news outside the country, the Israeli army released the director of Al-Shifa Medical Complex in Gaza City on Monday after more than 7 months of detention following a military operation at the hospital last November. Dr. Mohammed Abu Salmiya was among 50 Palestinians who were released by Israel due to overcrowding in its prisons. Speaking after his release, Dr. Mohammed described the prisoners' condition as tragic, unprecedented in Palestinian history, with severe food shortages and physical humiliation.
Abu Salmiya was arrested in November last year along with several medical staff after the Israeli military attacked Al-Shifa Hospital. On November 14, 2023, the Israeli army stormed Al-Shifa Medical Complex in western Gaza City, forcing patients, injured individuals and medical staff to evacuate to the southern areas of the enclave. Israel, facing a UN Security Council resolution demanding an immediate ceasefire, has faced international condemnation amid its continued brutal attacks on Gaza since October 7, 2023. According to local health authorities, nearly 37,900 Palestinians have since been killed, mostly women and children, and around 87,000 others injured. Over 8 months into the Israeli war, vast tracts of Gaza lie in ruin amid a crippled blockade of food, clean water, and medicine. Israel stands accused of genocide at the International Court of Justice, whose latest ruling ordered it to immediately halt its military operations in the southern city of Rafah, where over 1 million Palestinians have sought refuge from the war before it was invaded on May 6th. Reporting for Muslim Insight, my name is Mariam Sa.
Now that report from Mariam Sa brings us to the end of our first segment of the Muslim Insight. Join me in the second segment as we talk about or do the review of the Friday Bulletin. Therefore, stay tuned.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون.
Enyi mlioamini, munapoitwa kuhudhuria swala ya Ijumaa, fanyeni haraka kuikimbilia, muache biashara zenu, hilo ni bora ikiwa mwelewa.
Isikilizeni kwa umakinifu khutba ya Ijumaa
ili uzidi kujenga imani yako na kupata faida nyingi ya siku hii.
Coming to you every Friday from Jamia Mosque, Nairobi.
Live on Horizon TV.
Verse of the day.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا يسخر قوم من قوم عسى أن يكونوا خيرا منهم ولا نساء من نساء عسى أن يكن خيرا منهن ولا تلمزوا أنفسكم ولا تنابزوا بالألقاب بئس الاسم الفسوق بعد الإيمان ومن لم يتب فأولئك هم الظالمون.
kiumbe dhaifu lakini jasiri.
Alitunukiwa sura nzima,
sura inayompa daraja yake inavyostahiki. Sharti ajigambe.
Naam, na pepo ipo chini ya nyayo zake.
Mpamba nyumba na nyoyo za wapendwa wake.
anayebeba majukumu yake pasina kupinga.
Mtazamaji, je, unamfahamu anayezungumziwa?
Bila ya kusahau hadhi yake na haki zake.
Ungana nami Rahma Swaleh na Sheikh Juma Amir
tukuelimishe na kukupa mwelekeo katika maisha ya ndoa
kwenye kipindi Dira ya Mwanamke,
kila Jumapili saa 2 usiku majira ya Afrika Mashariki ndani ya Horizon TV.
Inatia hofu kuwazia siku ya kiyama lini.
Kuna tofauti gani baina ya alama ndogo na alama kubwa za kiyama?
Kiyama haitasimama mpaka muone alama 10. Hizi alama 10 kuna zingine ni hatari zaidi kuliko zingine, na zikija zafuatana na ni alama za kushtua.
Inatia wasiwasi, ewe mja, ujiandae. Kwa nini? Tahadhari kabla ya hatari kufikia ukingoni.
Huyu Masihi Dajjal ni nani?
Inna Dajjal mamsuhul ain. Huyu Dajjal kana kwamba hana jicho moja. Ad-Dajjal ni kiumbe wa shari ambaye Mwenyezi Mungu Subhanahu wa Ta'ala hajajalia mtume kuja katika ardhi hii, mtume yote ila aliwakanya watu wake kuhusiana na Dajjal.
Mwenye kutambua dini hasubiri kiyama. Wamefaulu waliojisogeza kwa Maulana.
Kuna faida gani tupata tukimjua Mtume sallallahu alaihi wasallam,
nabii mwenye ushawishi mkubwa duniani?
Tukizikwa tukitiwa kaburini tutaulizwa haya maswali matatu: man rabbuk, ma dinuk, man nabiyuk.
Sheikh Jamaluddin anakupa simulizi.
Huwezi kumpenda mtu usiyemjua
na kutambua sunna zake,
lakini ukimjua na ukimtambua Mtume Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, mapenzi yako yatazidi.
Ufahamu Rasulullah, familia na maswahaba wake. Tazama sira ya Mtume kila Jumatatu saa 1 jioni kwenye Horizon TV. Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back and thank you so much for staying here with us at Horizon TV. This is the second segment of the Muslim Insight, whereby we engage ourselves in an impactful conversation. And today we are going to have a Friday bulletin review. And in studio, I'm not alone, but I'm joined by Sheikh Musa Mwale, Director, Maslah Mediation Center. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Welcome to Horizon TV.
Thank you very much.
I know I've been welcoming you so much, and it's not your first time, but it's the courtesy, you know.
Thank you.
Like I've said, we will be having Friday Bulletin Review.
Yes.
On our last week's Friday Bulletin Review, we've tackled, or rather on the front page of the Friday Bulletin, it was all about demonstrations. It was all about people calling police brutality. They have termed it as brutality. Now on today's Friday Bulletin, we can see that on the front page, Muslim leaders appeal to President Ruto address youth's concern.
Yes.
We've seen that over the past 3 weeks, there have been demonstrations by the Gen Zs.
Yes.
We've seen that they call it peaceful demonstration. But through those demonstrations, we've seen that so many things have been damaged. Properties have been destroyed. People have died, loss of lives. including the police who are there to seize the demonstration, including the students who are going back home from their half-term, you know.
Yes.
So on the front page you can see that Muslim leaders appeal to President Ruto to address youth concern.
Yes.
What's your take on that?
I thank you very much. First, we must really loud and congratulate the Gen Z or the youth for coming out strongly to participate in the political discourse and leadership of this country. Indeed, the leadership has not delivered as expected. There have been a lot of gaps in governance issues. And the older generation has been concerned and probably trying to raise these issues. But it took the initiative of Gen Z generation or the younger generation to come up and say, enough is enough. The finance bill was just a trigger. These are things, you know, no one just wakes up today and, you know, start doing something unconventional. There must be a build-up, and there has been a build-up. We've seen a lot of wastage in government, a lot of opulence, a lot of unnecessary, you know, jobs within the government or roles within the government, you know, too many advisors, you know, a lot of money being spent on unnecessary things. And yet the Kenyans are being taxed very heavily. So people have been asking, where is our tax going to? I don't think there is anyone who doesn't want to pay tax, but people are asking, even if we are giving this tax, where is it going to? We need to see services in hospitals, in schools. We need to see the government functioning. You go to a hospital and the best you can be given is a painkiller. Otherwise, you are told to seek other services from private institutions, like you go for MRI, you go to the lab outside, everything. You go to school, and much as he said, school is free, but there are a lot of things to be bought. So I think the younger generation have done us proud by coming out to demonstrate and to show the world that, and to show the government that things are not right. However, of course, it was very peaceful at the beginning, but you know, society, the way it's formed, either someone plans to disrupt it in the best way they can, and therefore you have either goons being hired by certain groups of people who want to actually demonize the peaceful demonstration, or you also have just people who goons who take advantage, that this is the time for us to take advantage and loot. So those, we cannot rule out that, and that of course causes people to be in commotion with the law enforcement. And we also have a rogue law enforcement officers who try to take advantage of that situation and maybe met out their anger, you know, their frustration at work, or just, you know, those trigger-happy officers. So it is unfortunate that demonstrations in this country have turned chaotic, basically because of those two factors or three factors, where some people have taken advantage, where others have used goons to otherwise demonize the peaceful demonstration, and where, you know, we have had irresponsible police officers use live ammunitions to quell the protest. This should not be allowed and should not be encouraged, but that's what you call in any conflict collateral damage, and it's unfortunate it happens that way.
Okay, it is evident that the demonstration started peacefully.
Yes.
But as time goes, the demonstrations have become the other ways, okay? Yes. Rumors has been circulating that goons have been hired by the political leaders. Can you attest to that?
We can't rule out that, and that's what I said, that people take advantage of certain situations to advance their own ill intentions. It's possible that, because you saw even the type of the structure, the attire, you know, the look of the first demonstration, and the third demonstration. These were people who were not organized. They were out to provoke police officers, and they were out to loot. And therefore, it's possible they were hired, but it's also possible that they also just organized themselves to take advantage of the situation. Those are possibilities, and we can really not rule out that in any political dispensation. Those are strategies that are normally used to fight the opponent.
It's all about the rise in taxation. Maybe let's talk about the tear gas being used, the water canisters. Like, is it something that the Kenyans are the ones who are taxed?
Yeah, of course, those are things that come from people's taxes. And why would you why would you otherwise contravene the Constitution by using people's taxes to fight their own, to fight them for voicing their own right within the Constitution? It's unfortunate that maybe our police officers or law enforcement officers need more training in terms of quelling demonstrations, because even if demonstrations can be violent, but a properly trained police force or police enforcement can actually quell it without causing a lot of damage to the people. Of course, use of maybe water, use of maybe rubber bullets, or I've never seen, and I've never seen it in this country, but use of things that can really what do we call them, teasers, to immobilize people. You sort of get electrocuted temporarily to just immobilize you, rather than use of clubs to clobber people and to break them, use of tear gas, that affect people. So I think there are better ways of doing that, and within the police reforms, maybe those are some of the things they should think about. Otherwise, as I've said, we ask, the leaders have said, they ask the president to address quite a number of these concerns, because they're quite critical things that were raised by the young people. And it's not only in terms of taxes, but in terms of governance structures, in terms of expenses, in terms of managing the resources that we have. We don't, you look at other African countries, look at Tanzania, and the way like the late President Magufuli, he never went out, because you have ambassadors. Why do you have ambassadors? Why would you send an entourage of 100 people to a function, to a conference abroad? Why can't you send 10 people or 5 people and use your ambassadors to do that? So these are some of the measures. Why do government officers have to go to big hotels, 5-star hotels, to hold meetings? Why can't they hold it in the boardrooms? Why can't they hold them in government institutions like Kenya School of Government? Government has a lot of institutions like the School of Monetary Studies. These are nice 3-star, 4-star level of hotels, and the government institutions.
Now, this one is an appeal to the president. You can see that still the Gen Zs here also have been called to rethink and re-strategize. And what can you say about that one?
Well,
we've tackled about it a bit.
It's true. It's true in any conflict or in any war for people to retreat, to re-strategize. And now that the president not only withdrew the finance bill, but also provided room for dialogue, even though I don't hear him deny. He has affirmed that the finance bill was a mistake to have been to cause all this. So he still believes in the finance bill. So I don't know whether he's actually remorseful or apologetic, but at least he has extended some goodwill of let's dialogue. We realize there's a problem. So much as we say the Gen Z should also retreat and rethink, but let's give yes, the president and the leadership an opportunity for them to implement what or some of these issues. If they're able to implement them, well and good. If they're not able to do that, then the JNC can have an opportunity to say, well, we gave you an opportunity, you didn't do it, and therefore our next course of action is ABCD.
Okay.
Yes.
According to the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, we can see that at least 39 people died, hundreds injured. Maybe could you clarify for us the people who have died, a bigger number, who are they? The protesters or those who are coming to seize the demonstration?
Actually, it's all mixed up. The protesters have died. Actually, as at now, it's 41 officially. But you don't know. As days go by, the people who are still missing.
So a bigger number are the protesters.
Yeah, they are the protesters because they are the ones who are being shot at. You know, the goons are organized, and it's not easy for them to have suffered that kind of brutality or collateral damage. But the demonstrators were peaceful. They did not expect anything to happen, and this happened. You know, so a good number would be protesters. And it's unfortunate, and we really want to condole. I want to condole with those ones who have lost their lives, and the families that have lost the loved ones, and those ones who are in hospitals, and of course those ones who are also still missing. We don't know whether they are dead or, you know, until some few days from today or weeks is when we will ascertain.
I want to confirm this in the Islamic perspective.
Yes.
Those people who have died in the protest, could you classify them as they have died as shahid?
Don't know, that's not in my place to do that. They died by fighting for a just cause. But we also know that some, like the goons, might have died while stealing or trying to destroy people's property. You never know. I mean, you cannot rule out in a demonstration. But those ones who died fighting for a just cause, of course, they have their rewards. Yes.
Okay. Let's switch a bit, still on matters of leadership. We can see that on page 2 that leaders condemn Deputy President's remarks on NIS chief, that is Nordin Haj. And according to my observation, or what we have seen, is that 2 hours earlier, the Deputy President had called for a nationwide address that was to take place at 5. And we've seen that the President again had a nationwide address at 4, moments after the Deputy President has called for the nationwide address. And we can see that leaders condemn Deputy President's remarks on NIS. Is he in a position to do so? Because they have called it as a lack of communication, proper communication from the upper.
Yeah, I think the leadership, the presidency, has been reading from the different scripts. You know, while the deputy, while the president is facing this direction, the deputy has been facing another direction, and it's unfortunate that the deputy has not been very responsible in terms of his utterances. He started by saying that this government was a government was a company and shareholders, and only, you know, like 2 ethnic communities were shareholders, and the other 46 ethnic communities were not shareholders. He has continued to, you know, I think, for lack of a better word, you know, he's been classified as a tribalist, and I think he is. He is quite a tribalist because he has continued to endear himself to a specific community and not looking at it from him as a deputy president, from the holistic, the national perspective. And this, of course, this attack for me is an ethnic, you know, tribalist. He was looking at the NIS not as an office, but as a tribe. That's my own interpretation, and therefore he would have preferred maybe the director to be from his own ethnic group, maybe from the shareholding group rather than the perceived non-shareholders. So it's quite unfortunate that he has continued to be a tribalist rather than a national leader, and he has continued to make remarks that have gone or rubbed the nation a wrong way and portrayed him as not a very responsible leader and a unifying figure for the nation.
At any circumstance, is the Deputy President allowed to address the nation?
The presidency, that's up to him and his boss to decide. The Deputy President is there to deputize the President. And therefore, he does anything under the instruction of the President. So if the President has instructed him to, then that is in order. If he has not been instructed to, then it's his boss to ask him why he's going ahead and doing things that he has not been given authority to do. Yes.
You can see on page 6 that a title or a subtitle, sorry, listen to the voices of the people, leaders told. And we can see during the Jamia Khutbah prayer last Friday, Sheikh Litomi has maybe called the leaders to emulate the exemplary leadership style of our Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salat.
Yeah, unfortunately, I will start with our own leadership and the Muslims. Unfortunately, the Muslim legislators in Parliament who went against the will of the people. And some of them were so arrogant, they say we will vote yes, and again yes, we know. As if they represent the parties or specific interests rather than the people's interest. People had spoken, the constituents had spoken, and they had said, this bill is hurting us. The governance system is hurting us. And the members of Parliament went ahead and said, we don't care what you say. So for me, it's unfortunate that we have such leaders in our midst, that leaders who do not listen to the wishes of the people, leaders who have continued to justify voting yes to a bill that had been widely rejected by the masses, and they still believe that they were in their own right to have done that. Without thinking that they are representatives of the people. So we will start with that. And for me, is to just encourage us as Muslim voters. Next time we are voting in people, let's assess them. Let's not just vote in people depending on euphoric moments. Let's vote in people we believe they're good leaders from the ground, and those people who will represent us and our wishes are not people who will represent themselves or their own stomachs, because I'm told people are being bribed to a tune of 2 million shillings. So of course some of them are so money hungry that if you're given 2 million shillings, you compromise your own dignity and the wishes of the people who actually sent you there. It's unfortunate. So for leaders to call the Muslim leadership to call on leaders generally, be they Muslims or non-Muslims, to listen to the wishes of the people, to listen to the voices of the people. It's critical, because why are you there? You are there to represent the people. And therefore, you are not there to represent a specific party or yourself. You are there because of the people. If you think you're not going to represent the people, don't offer yourself for leadership. If you think you are going to the leadership to make money, I think there are better ways of making money out here other than in leadership, because then you are telling us you're going to steal from us. Because that is also tantamount to stealing from us. You getting money, you getting bribed to compromise our wishes, that is stealing from us.
Still on this matter, Islamically, I would like us to look at the leadership lessons from the life of our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What were the leadership lessons? How was he leading the people?
one, of course, you have to have, in terms of leadership, you have to have ikhlas. Your intention has to be very pure. Your intention has to be to serve the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the wishes of the people, you know, because it's an amana, it's a trust. When you're given leadership, it's a trust. Whether someone is seeing you or not seeing you, you have to make decisions that are in the best interest of the community and that also reflect the wishes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, of course, we say if a majority in democracy, if a majority want to do something that is haram, you cannot say just because you people want to do something that is haram, I will give you the liberty. No. As a leader, you will say, no, as long as it is haram, I stand by what is right. So first of all is fear of Allah, and second is representing truthfully the wishes of the people. And third is being able to also influence. You know, are you able to influence people to follow your vision, to follow your direction? And for you to be able to influence, you have to have that empathy. You have to have humility. You be humble enough for people to appreciate. You cannot influence by being a dictator. So these are some of the lessons that we learn from Rasul. He was the best of the leaders in the world, and even non-Muslims have written on him extensively, that he was the best of the leaders in this world, and for us, he's the best of example. So how did he lead his community? How did he lead his family? You know, all the way from his family, I mean, from his household, all the way to his people who worked for him, people who were under him, and the people he led. He wasn't a dictator. He consulted a lot. He listened to people. He cared about the welfare of the people. So this is what we are supposed to learn from our Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in terms of leadership.
Okay.
Yes.
I can see that time is not on our side. At least we've tackled some few stories, some few topics concerning leadership, and I trust that leadership is not all about the political leaders. There are so many leaders in the organization, leaders at home, like they should be leading with integrity.
Sure.
And definitely time is limited for us to tackle all the stories on this Friday bulletin. But inshallah, maybe when we have another time, we could do more.
Inshallah.
Thank you so much for coming here today and putting some insight on the Friday bulletin for the betterment or understanding of our viewers. Thank you so much for staying here with us at Horizon TV. That was all for today. Until next Friday, same place, same time. My name is Zamzam Ahmed. Have a wonderful weekend.